And another great day in this greatest nation on God's green earth. And certainly a great day for us because we begin the show with a veteran commentator about what the transformation that America is going through in anticipation not just of the 4th of July and the 250th anniversary of our country, but on the 80th anniversary of Donald Trump's birth. It is his big birthday bash, and what a bash it is. And there's commentary on that subject by Juan Williams, senior political analyst for Fox News Channel and a prize-winning civil rights historian. He is the author of the new book, which is a wonderful new book, New Prize for These Eyes, The Rise of America's Second Civil Rights Movement. He has a brand new piece about Trump's birthday bash under the heading UFC, Fireworks, Military Show. Get ready for the stunning, loud political message. Juan Williams, what is the message the President of the United States is sending to the people of the country?
Well, Michael, hello. And I think it could be boiled down to bread and circus 2026. Support his administration. Ignore criticism of the failure to get a deal to end this war that was said to be just going to last a few weeks, now entering the 4-month phase. Don't worry about inflation, which continues to tick up. Don't worry at all about him using public facilities to stage a bloody spectacle on the White House lawn or to close down streets.
Okay, well, explain for a moment in case people have missed it. What's the bloody spectacle on the White House lawn? What is it?
Oh, it's a UFC fight that's going to be held in their octagon-type setting. But I was on television last night, Michael, and they showed the image of the White House, and it doesn't look like the White House. It looks like a county fairground with a large kind of arc-like thing behind it. It's multicolored. It has stars and stripes and flashing, and that's going to be the arch that overhangs the octagon where these two men will engage in what I think John McCain famously described as human cockfighting.
Well, okay, I've seen images of this new construction on the White House, and it's not quite as a big a deal as the big beautiful ballroom, which we'll talk about, or the new Arc de Triomphe that he is trying to build, which is about double the size of the real Arc de Triomphe in Paris. But it's all very strange. Who is paying for what Senator McCain called the human cockfight, the mixed martial arts display? Who's taking the bill for that expense?
He says that all the construction is being paid for by the UFC, the sponsoring organization for this fight. But of course, what you have is they're going to seat 5,000 people right there on the White House lawn. This used to be the Rose Garden. It used to be such a dignified place, and it holds such a powerful place in the American imagination and American history. And now it's being reduced to basically, as I said, like a fairground where you come across some incredibly, odd, enigmatic sight, and you think, "Oh my God, what is this? This is a freak show." But it's right there at the White House, and it's a bloody freak show.
Okay, you write about this, and you actually informed me about some things I didn't know about. There's also a Formula One display. We're going to have the streets of Washington celebrating Trump's birthday with some speeding automobiles. What's that?
You described it accurately. So it will go all around the national monuments from the Lincoln Memorial, near where he wants to build that Arc de Triomphe that will be bigger than the one in Paris, all the way down to the U.S. Capitol. So you're going by not only Lincoln, you're going by the FDR Memorial, the King, Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, the Washington Monument, the World War II Memorial. Then you're going all the way past the Smithsonian. Then you're zinging around the U.S. Capitol grounds, and then back down Constitution Avenue. It's, to me, I don't understand. He's creating what I said to you at the very start: bread and circus, I should say.
Yeah,
In order,
but
I think,
somebody else is providing the bread.
well, that's the thing. So you asked about the UFC event. The UFC is paying for the construction of this fanciful thing that will that will hang over the octagon. But the United States government, meaning you and me, the American taxpayers, are paying for all that attends to that, beginning with security, beginning with organizing the seating and the rest. And the same thing goes with the speed cars going by. And the same thing goes, it's unbelievable. Obviously, the fireworks, the show he has coming into town, these trucks that pretend to tell you American history, moments of American history, but they are sponsored and supplied by Prager University, which is a conservative outlet,
Yes.
to promote conservative thinking as legitimate patriotic acts. But the whole
Okay, these are the Freedom Trucks. They're called the Freedom Trucks.
Yeah, the Freedom Trucks.
Okay, so the real question here is, you're a Washington long timer. The president, this is not his first birthday as a president of the United States. Was there anything like this to celebrate his prior birthdays in office?
Not in the first term so much, but last year, 2025, he did huge. I mean, when I say huge, like you could be miles away and hear the rocking and of the streets, and then you would hear he had these military jets, some of them the latest jets, the Phantoms and all, rocketing over the city, and you could hear it. Both the city, the jets, which make this zow, but my house was shaking. But then downtown, because he had so many of the tanks, the streets were shaking.
Okay, this is for his birthday, not for the 4th of July?
No, this last year, we're talking about 2025.
Yeah.
Last year, he did this, and it wasn't that he said it was for 4th of July. He said it was a 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, and so this was a celebration of the Army, but it was on the same day as his birthday.
I see. Do you know of any other president? We've had 46 others who commemorated his birthday in office with this level of festivity?
No, and you're asking the right guy, because remember, I've been here since Jimmy Carter, so I'm an old man, so I've seen them all. And you know what strikes me, Michael, is if you go back to the bicentennial, 1976, it was a joyous time here, and it was a unifying time. People of all political stripes, even with a Republican in office, remember Nixon, Ford, right? Ford exactly. Nobody thought, that we're going to politicize this and we're going to celebrate one man as the grand and supreme ruler. No, to the contrary, it was a celebration of the United States of America.
And it's always appropriate to celebrate the United States. We're going to come back with Juan Williams, who has perspective on what he calls midterm madness. The midterms of rage, really? We will get to that and more with Juan Williams coming up on the MedNet Show. And we're back with the only Juan Williams, and what a pleasure to talk to you before the big events in Washington, D.C. One, the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, which is a glorious milestone for this great country. And the another kind of milestone, the 80th birthday of Donald J. Trump. And this will also all fit in with the upcoming midterm elections in November. You have a column, Juan, and it's a very important column. It talks about the midterms of rage. You ask in the headline, can Republicans survive the midterms of rage? Why the rage about these particular midterm elections coming in November?
Well, without a doubt, you know that historically midterms are determined in large part by the approval rating of the incumbent president. And even with presidents who have some level of or modicum of approval, typically the midterms go against the incumbent party. In this case, Donald J. Trump's ratings are very low for not only for him, but for any president. They are just about as low as you can go. And the key issue, inflation, the economy, he is judged quite negatively on that issue. He's even losing support among white working class voters, kind of his base, the MAGA base. So what you see is there's a lot of anger and rage. And I would say it's most obvious on the left or the Democratic Party. And it begins not only with the economic issue, but extends quite quickly to Trump's handling of the war. And again, this is bipartisan. Americans disapprove of launching a war with Iran, and he has been unable to find any way to bring this to a conclusion despite many promises. And then we can go to the cost of lettuce and eggs and everything else, and you can see that the tariffs regime has not delivered for the United States. So this is you have to get ready, Michael, for people, I think, to express a high level of discontent that I would describe as rage.
Well, I know that they did a CNN poll just a couple of days ago where they asked people, do you approve of Donald Trump renaming organizations and buildings and putting his name on our money? And you know how many people said they approved of it?
No, I'm interested.
9%.
Right. Well,
okay. Those are the real serious diehards. But meanwhile, to support your idea of the midterms of rage, normally they expect a turnout of about 40% of eligible voters when there's no presidential race. About 40% come out and vote. There are now 57% who say they are sure to vote. They are the level of public interest in these midterms is very high. That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you see this amplified almost on a daily basis. Like, right now they have huge protests in New Jersey about the ICE detention centers. And think back to what happened in Minneapolis. Think back to Kilmar Abreu Garcia being released by a judge who said his detention was an act of vindictiveness by the Trump administration. So you think about the fund that Trump recently tried to establish to reward people who were involved in the January 6th insurrection. You even see the reaction, the rage that I'm talking about coming from Republicans who say this is wrong. You can't reward people who tried to, defeat the United States government and
or people who beat up cops, for goodness sake.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah. In this column, give me a second here. I just point out for all of he's having a summer surge is what they're calling it, which is uniformed people, military people, the ICE people, U.S., National Guard people come to Washington this summer, supposedly because of all these activities, but in uniform. So it will feel like all of these uniformed, armed people are celebrating and supporting the master of ceremonies, the central character, the host of all the programming. Guess who that is? Donald J. Trump.
Well, again, he canceled that musical or he's in the process of canceling that musical celebration that was supposed to take place on the mall with a bunch of 1980s rock and roll stars.
Right.
And okay, that he says is going to be replaced by him because
Yes.
he draws bigger crowds than Elvis. And he says he's the world. And this is another thing that just struck me so heavily yesterday is in his explanation for this switch. He said the person who's going to be speaking and drawing this huge audience is the person who many people consider the greatest president of all time. Can you think of any other president in the whole history of the country? And we've had some very colorful characters as president of the United States. Any president who would dare to say, I'm the greatest of all time?
No, because first of all, if you had any political advisor, if you had a wife or somebody who cared about you, they would say, that's stupid. That's politically self-defeating because it will open you to derision. I mean, you are humiliating yourself. Don't do it. But Trump knows no limits. He is the great disruptor, I think, in his mind. But what he's doing here is not so much disrupting. It's all about self-aggrandization. You know, he wants to be the focus of everything. And that's what these upcoming events, from the UFC fight to the fireworks to the big parades, the military display, it's all about Trump.
And this conversation has been all about Trump, who is the president of the United States, joined by Juan Williams. His columns, most recently, are posted at our website at michaelmedved.com. And his new book is still available, New Prize for These Eyes, The Rise of America's Second Civil Rights Movement. And no, those civil rights don't include naming buildings after yourself or staging military celebrations to honor your birthday. We will be right back. Juan Williams, happy 4th of July in advance. And let's hope for a happy midterms that express confidence more than rage. We will
Always
get
good to
to
be
that.
with you, Michael.
We will get to that and some of the expectations for those midterms and for the presidential election that comes after that in 2028. We will get to that and more on the Medved Show. And on the Michael Medved Show, with the excitement mounting for President Trump's birthday coming up, and then, of course, for the 4th of July celebration, which is taking place, amazingly enough, on the 4th of July, and then that followed by the midterm elections. Today is another milestone because we have 6 different states that will be holding primaries today. California, of course, Iowa, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, and South Dakota. There are some high-profile races in there that could be very significant when people cast their votes today. We will get to that. There is also new news in the drive to try to find an exit ramp, an off-ramp for the war in Iran. Iran has suspended its talks with the United States. They did that yesterday. They say in the Washington Post they did that after Israel intensified attacks in Lebanon, responding to further missile attacks from Hezbollah on northern Israel. There are state media reports from Iran and from an Iranian official who spoke to the Washington Post on the condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to brief the press. But Israel appeared to be holding off today on what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had described as imminent strikes on Beirut. The defense minister, Israel Katz, said the Israeli Defense Forces continued to operate in an expanding security zone in southern Lebanon, but had refrained from powerful strikes in the capital, Beirut, quote, except for targeted assassinations of some of the Hezbollah terrorist hierarchy. This all follows a U.S. request, a personal request from President Trump, who warned, however, that Israel would strike Dahiya, a Beirut suburb where the military group holds sway, if Israel's northern communities are continued to be targeted. There will no longer be a situation, said the Israeli defense minister, if there is quiet in Beirut while Israeli communities are under attack. He added that Netanyahu had conveyed this message to President Donald Trump. The Americans validated the principle and notified the Lebanese government and all relevant parties, the Israeli communities versus Beirut, Katz said. President Trump yesterday insisted that negotiations were ongoing. Talks are continuing at a rapid pace with the Islamic Republic of Iran, the president said in a social media post. Trump said he spoke by phone with Netanyahu and with Hezbollah through highly placed representatives. Hezbollah agreed that all shooting will stop, that Israel will not attack them, and they will not attack Israel, Trump wrote on social media. Well, that hasn't happened. They have attacked Israel, and Israel has attacked back. Lebanon's embassy in Washington said Hezbollah had accepted the U.S. proposal, and under the proposed arrangement, Israel would not launch a broad offensive on Beirut in exchange for Hezbollah stopping the attacks on Israel. Further negotiations Tuesday and Wednesday would expand on the progress made, it said in the statement Monday evening. U.S. and Iranian negotiators have engaged in talks for weeks, but have failed to resolve key differences on the future of Iran's nuclear program and control of the Strait of Hormuz. Now the ceasefire is increasingly coming under strain, says the Washington Post, with the two sides trading tit-for-tat attacks in recent days. The term tit-for-tat attacks is inappropriate, and I wish they wouldn't use it, because these attacks are not just a little bink here, a little beep here. They can be devastating. And there are people being killed on both sides. The U.S. military said it struck Iranian radar and drone sites near the Strait of Hormuz over the weekend, prompting Iran to retaliate Monday with missile fire into Kuwait. And part of what this shows is all of the talk from the White House about the devastation and the crippling of Iran is exaggerated. Iran is very capable of striking back, and they have been doing that. Tehran's decision to pull back from the talks highlights the difficulty Trump is facing in bringing an end to an unpopular war that has caused worldwide economic disruption, including spiking energy prices. U.S. military planners across several continents were on heightened alert for the potential expansion of hostilities, that according to people familiar with the issue who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive security issues. Iran, however, is countered with its own steep demands, this on any potential negotiations, if they ever resume, including its refusal to fully dismantle its nuclear program, demands for release of billions in frozen funds, and extensive sanctions relief. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said it had launched missiles from Khuzestan province in retaliation for what it said was a U.S. strike on a telecommunications tower on Sirik Island. The IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, said its targets were destroyed and warned that any repeated strike would draw a completely different response. Iran said it had targeted a U.S.-linked air base in Kuwait. Meanwhile, they stipulate that the Iran-U.S. talks are aimed at negotiating a memorandum of understanding to extend the ceasefire by 60 days and open a new round of talks on Iran's nuclear program. In other words, what this entire situation is about 60 days. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're reporting on Axios that Trump lashed out at the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over Israel's escalation in Lebanon in an expletive-laden phone call yesterday. Two U.S. officials and a third source briefed on the call told Axios. Why it matters? Earlier on Monday, Iran threatened to abandon the negotiations with the U.S. over Israel's actions in Lebanon. On the call, Trump called Netanyahu crazy and accused him of ingratitude, according to two of the sources. There is much more and very little encouraging news, I'm afraid, regarding what's going on with Iran, but we will get to it, plus the primaries scheduled for today all across the country, in fact. That and more on The Medved Show. And on the Michael Medved Show, there was apparently a testy phone call between the leader of the United States, Donald John Trump, and Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. The whole idea of the personal nature of this phone call and the angry nature of this phone call, they're reporting in Axios that one U.S. official said Trump told Netanyahu that following through on his threats to bomb the Lebanese capital would further isolate Israel around the world. Two of the sources said Trump claimed he'd helped keep Netanyahu out of jail, a reference to Trump's support during Netanyahu's corruption trial. That corruption trial has been going on for years, literally for years. And no, it does not look like he's going to be sent to jail at any time soon. But the reference to Trump's support for Netanyahu during the corruption trial, summarizing Trump's remarks to Netanyahu, the anonymous U.S. official said that President Trump said, "You're beep crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. And everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." A second source briefed on the call said Trump was pissed and at one point yelled at Netanyahu, "What the beep are you doing?" Driving the news, the U.S. official said Trump knew Hezbollah had been shooting at Israel and that Israel needed to defend itself, but felt in recent days that Netanyahu was escalating in a disproportionate way. In addition to the threats on Beirut, Israel has been expanding its ground operations in southern Lebanon to try to stop the firing of missiles on Israel's north. Another U.S. official said Trump was concerned by the fact that Israel had killed civilians in Lebanon and objected to the Israelis knocking down buildings to take out a single Hezbollah commander. Israel no longer plans to strike Hezbollah targets in Beirut, an Israeli official told Axios. And there is more on the state of the war in Iran But it's become a war throughout the Middle East, unfortunately, which was everyone's fear. Scott McFarlane, who is a chief Washington correspondent for the Midas Touch Network, was on CNN, and he spoke about the pending Iran peace deal and indicated that we're actually watching a worldwide version of a childish game. Here's what he said. It's clip 17.
We are watching like the largest ever version, a worldwide version of a game of Chicken Little, where you have people who have to fund this war here in Washington who have no idea where peace negotiations are. You have members of Congress who are reading Truth Social posts to get guidance, and you see the Truth Social posts conflict with each other. I've talked to senators, Laura, who are concerned about the quantity of U.S. munitions right now. They know the bills are going to come due on this, and they don't know the trajectory. I don't think members of Congress like the briefings they're getting, at least the thoroughness of the briefings they're getting or not getting on the war, and the president's being, to put it charitably, less than clear where things are going.
Less than clear. There's also a perspective that Michael Oren, the former Israeli ambassador to Washington, D.C., that he offered on Fox News about the negotiations and their future. Here is former Ambassador Michael Oren, clip 3.
The individual goals that were set out both by the United States and Israel at the outset of this operation, of Epic Fury, Roaring Lion, were fourfold. One was to stop Iran's nuclear program, then to remove the nuclear stockpile. That includes a stockpile of 60% enriched uranium plus 20% enriched uranium, about 2,000 pounds. And then also to prevent Iran from developing intercontinental ballistic missile capabilities that will threaten Israel, all of our neighbors, and frankly, now Western Europe, because we know that those missiles can reach Western Europe. The Iranians lied about the range. And lastly, to prevent Iran from supporting terror. Terror, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, terrorists around the world, carrying out terrorist attacks in Europe and in the United States. I was the target of one of those terrorist attacks in Washington, D.C. They didn't succeed, but they certainly tried. And over the course of the war, a fifth goal was added, and that is reopening the Strait of Hormuz. But certainly for Israel, the first four were essential. And those aren't just, those aren't goals of convenience. They go to our essential national security.
Okay, and Michael Oren also talked about the fact that it's tough to believe that Iran will keep its promises that are made in the course of any negotiation. This is a clip 5, more from Michael Oren.
Very concerned, Mark. I'll be very frank with you. I'm very concerned that if the regime is thrown a lifeline through sanction relief, through the unfreezing of frozen assets, you're talking about tens and tens of billions of dollars, then it will continue to fund Hezbollah, it'll continue to fund Hamas, it'll continue to build intercontinental ballistic missiles that have threatened us, and the Iranians will lie about their nuclear program the way they lied about the range of their ballistic missiles. They said, it only goes 2,000 kilometers. It turned out it went 4,000 kilometers and reached not just the Middle East, but parts of Europe. So you're dealing with a regime that lies and does want to just to destroy us. On the other hand, what's at stake is a possibility of an entirely different Middle East, of peace between Israel and Lebanon, peace between Israel and Syria, peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia, even peace between Israel and a post-Ayatollah Iran, and the restoration of a Pax Americana, Mark, that would extend from the shores of the Mediterranean to the banks of the Ganges. That's what it would look like.
And that is a hope. And a last note about Iran's arsenal of about 8,000 ballistic missiles. How will they be used? What do they represent? This is clip 4.
The fact of the matter is that Iran wanted before this war to build up an arsenal of something in the order of 8,000 of these ballistic missiles. And I understand your listeners should know what we mean by a ballistic missile. In the room next to me, I have my family bomb shelter. And that bomb shelter can withstand a direct hit from a missile from Hezbollah or from Hamas, packs around about 100 to 300 pounds of TNT. But these ballistic missiles carry about 2,000 pounds of TNT. And it will take down not just my safe room and this entire building, it'll take down the entire neighborhood. So imagine these 8,000 of these rockets coming at you, which will overwhelm our missile defense and create something close to an existential threat to the state of Israel. So the missile defense issue, the missile ballistic missile issue, is absolutely critical for us.
Okay, this is all occurring where the negotiations appear to be completely deadlocked, and going nowhere. Meanwhile, President Trump went on an unprecedented and unhinged social media posting spree. This is amazing when you think about it. The President of the United States, in the midst of the ongoing crisis in the Middle East, posted 45 posts in 1 hour. What did he post? The president 1 hour on his social media platform? And meanwhile, there's more. Russia launched a large-scale deadly attack early today, on Tuesday, on Kyiv as part of a broad offensive on targets across Ukraine, authorities said. At least 17 people were killed in the assault that Ukraine's military said involved more than 600 drones and dozens of missiles, including advanced hypersonics. That reported by CNN. And meanwhile, we have a primary, not just in California, but primaries across the country. What do they point to for the political future of this greatest nation on God's green earth? That and more coming up.
Listeners love Michael Medved.
I listen to you occasionally when I'm driving. It turns my stomach every time I do. Lately, you've been sounding like a raving lunatic. You upset me so much. You never tell the truth.
I truly believe you're delusional.
You don't have a clue.
You're wrong again.
What's going on in your head? You are no good for the country.
People like you who are a monster. Have you no shame?
The Michael Medved Show.